Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, finally, it seems like I have some good news from Gaza, Israel, and that is Hamas and Israel seem to have reached a tentative deal. Well, let's see. And that happened in Qatar with the help of the United States of America. Because United States of America is not responsible whatsoever of the situation in the Middle East, where it was the big guy for 30 years, alone, with no Soviets around or anybody else to challenge the United States of America. But hey, they're still the most trusted broker over there, right? It seems like. So we have this article coming from Sputnik. It is from 3 hours ago, right there, 3 hours ago. Today on the 17th of November 2023. Israel Hamas in talks with support from US in Qatar. Reached tentative deal. Seymour Hersh reports. Now this guy, even though he's a Zelensky Stein, seems like they discredited him, or he discredited himself. I'm not sure yet. Whenever he says what the guys in charge don't want him to say, then he is a bad guy. When he parrots, if he parrots, and I don't think he does, the narrative, the required narrative, he's the good guy. He's a trustworthy guy. That's how it goes with everything. That's why you gotta love this kind of justice and freedom. Israeli and Hamas officials are in the middle of negotiations in Qatar with support from the United States. U.S. investigative journalist Seymour Hersh said, citing sources. And I'm quoting, talks between the Hamas leadership and Israel, with support from the United States, are now going on in Qatar. Unquote. Hersh said in his column published on Substack on Friday. And I'm quoting again. The American team includes CIA Director William Burns, President Joe Biden's most experienced foreign policy aide. Very interesting. This guy was in Ukraine a few days ago in a secret meeting with Zelensky Stein. According to Hersh, a tentative agreement was reached days ago between Israel and Hamas. Under the tentative agreement, Hamas agreed to release 50 women and elderly hostages in return for the release of hundreds of women and teenage girls of Hamas families who are now in Israeli jails. Hersh added, the United States insists that family members be released together from captivity. Hersh said, adding that as a result of this demand, Washington is calling for the release of 71 hostages held by Hamas. How would you like to live there, huh? Yeah. Hamas reportedly agreed to a U.S. demand. However, Hamas insisted on a 5-day halt to the war, which was immediately rejected by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Hersh reported. On October 7, Hamas launched, okay, we already know that one. Do we have it? Hey, where is the 1,000? Oh, right here. I was looking for this. My bad. Because you're always going to find this from now on. So you make sure that that gets in your, like the 6 million figure. But somehow you don't know how many gypsies died in the Second World War. Do you know? Do you know how many gypsies died in the concentration camps, the Nazi concentration camps? They were rounded up, as were the Jews. The homosexuals were rounded up, as were the gypsies and the Jews. Do you know how many homosexuals were killed by the Nazis? Do you know we have a number? The exact number? No, you don't. Do you know how many political prisoners were rounded up by those bad guys, as everybody else from the other groups that I mentioned? Do you know how many? Do you know how many were killed? No. Why is that? Why is that? Are they not as important as nobody cares to do a research? None of them has any survivors? You know, you have Holocaust survivors. You don't have I don't know, gypsy survivors from a second. We don't have homosexual survivors. Somehow those guys perished, all of them somehow. Just questions. Is it illegal to ask questions? I know here when you work with children, and I work with children, you are supposed to tell the children there's no wrong question. There's no bad question. There's no wrong. That means you try people to ask questions. By asking questions, you can fool them. You can give them your narrative. As a teacher, you're going to tell the kid, because you have the authority of a teacher. Remember, the child is small. You're an adult and a teacher in charge of him. So when a child asks you a question, you will give the child whatever narrative you were taught to tell the kid. Why? Because with that child, when the child grows, he's going to vote. The child is going to work. That child is not going to challenge certain taboos in the society. He's going to be regimented. So I just asked a question. Can you give me the answer? I want to be regimented. Do I look like one? Yes. I ooze for each pore that I have regimentation. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.